Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a truly fascinating, highly requested topic. We are going to decode the hidden nonverbal cues of the people around us. That's right, we're breaking down the top 5 psychological tricks to read absolutely anyone. But to kick things off, let me ask you a question. Do you honestly believe you can easily spot a liar or decode a hidden emotion? I mean, we've all seen those pop psychology tropes on TV, right? The brilliant detective who spots a tiny twitch in a suspect's eye and instantly just knows they're guilty. We're totally conditioned to believe that the human body literally cannot keep a secret, and that reading people is just a matter of trusting your gut. Well, prepare to have those preconceived notions completely shattered. Extensive research actually reveals that human lie detection accuracy is hovering right around 54%. Just let that sink in for a second. Without proper training, our ability to tell if someone is deceiving us is barely better than a literal coin toss. And the reason for this is evolutionary. We actually have what's called a truth bias, meaning our default tendency is to just believe others are telling the truth, so we can maintain social cohesion. So if we actually want to get better at reading people, we've got to abandon those untested gut instincts. So here is the roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll briefly tackle the myth of mind reading. Then, we'll jump into our 5 scientifically accurate psychological tricks, establishing a baseline, looking for clusters, spotting genuine smiles, catching microexpressions, and finally, watching for mismatches. Starting off with Section 1, the myth of mind reading. Okay, let's just nip this massive misconception in the bud right away. You have probably heard of the famous 93% rule, this idea that 93% of all communication is entirely nonverbal. Well, this is a gross misinterpretation of a 1967 study by Albert Mehrabian. As our source material clarifies, this statistic only applies to incongruent emotional messages. So, like when someone is saying, "I'm totally fine," but they're actively crying, it absolutely does not apply to all everyday communication. Trying to apply that 93% rule to a complex business negotiation or a medical diagnosis is honestly just scientifically absurd. If we want to read people accurately, we have to drop the myth. Moving on to Section 2, trick number 1, establish a baseline. So anthropologist David Hayano spent time analyzing the body language of poker players, and he found that the initial, really relaxed, rapport-building stage is incredibly valuable. Why? Well, because that is when you get to know a person's natural, unforced behavior. Are they naturally a fast talker? Do they normally sit perfectly still? Or do they tend to fidget even when they are perfectly comfortable? The crucial takeaway here is this. Your interpersonal radar only picks up a meaningful signal if a behavior deviates from that established baseline. Think about it. If you're dealing with a highly talkative colleague who suddenly gets incredibly meek and quiet during a negotiation, well, that sudden deviation on your radar means something strange is going on. Establishing a baseline is absolutely everything. All right, Section 3, trick number 2, look for clusters. Now, this brings us to what's known as the crossed arms fallacy. So often, people see crossed arms and immediately just assume someone is defensive or angry. But focusing on the arms in total isolation completely strips the gesture of its context. If a person has their arms crossed, but they also have their hand resting on their chin and a totally relaxed mouth, they are highly likely just in a deep thinking cluster. They're focused on what you're saying. However, if those same crossed arms are paired with a tight jaw and clenched fists, well, then you are definitely looking at a defensive cluster. The rule here is to always read the whole sentence of the body, never just one word. Section 4, trick number 3, spot genuine smiles. To really get this one, we've got to look under the hood at how your brain is actually wired. Your face is controlled by 2 totally different neural pathways. You've got the older subcortical pathway, which handles your automatic, genuine emotions. It fires before you even consciously decide anything. Then you have the motor cortex pathway. That one handles deliberate, conscious expressions, like that polite, stiff smile you're forced for a family photograph. When someone tries to fake a smile, they're actively using the motor cortex, and the resulting facial expression actually looks physically different than a genuine one. And here is exactly how you tell those 2 apart. A genuine smile, which is driven by true emotion, engages a muscle ring around your eye called the orbicularis oculi. It literally crinkles the outer corners of the eyes, creating those little crow's feet. A social, or fake smile, only moves the mouth. The eyes remain completely uncrinkled. As the old saying goes, the mouth can lie, but the eyes can't. If you don't see those little crinkles at the corners of their eyes, you know for sure that smile is hiding something. Section 5, trick number 4, catch microexpressions. So, microexpressions are these involuntary facial movements that flash on a person's face for a mere fraction of a second. We're talking sometimes as fast as 1/25th of a second. Blink and you miss it. They happen in that incredibly tiny window where the genuine automatic subcortical pathway fires just before the deliberate motor cortex can catch up and suppress the expression. Because they arrive faster than deliberate thought, they are incredibly hard to fake. Dr. Paul Ekman's pioneering research actually gives us some very specific tells for catching these fleeting expressions. Since they happen so fast, you really shouldn't just look at a person's settled state. You need to watch the transitions, that half second right after they receive news, before their face fully arranges itself. Also, you should focus your attention heavily on their upper face. The lower face is much easier to control consciously, but the upper face leaks true emotion, particularly right there through the inner brow. Also, keep an eye out for a quick asymmetric tightening of one corner of the mouth. That right there is the universal sign for contempt, which is a feeling of superiority.
Section 6, trick number 5. Watch for mismatches.
Seeing a mismatch is a massive red flag. For example, if someone says, "Hey, I'm not angry," but their vocal tone is raised and super abrasive, well, their tone is revealing the truth. Or say they are having what seems to be a totally casual conversation, but you notice a clenched jaw or a tightened neck, which are signs of considerable stress. Their body is completely betraying their words. And here is a really fascinating one: excessive eye contact. Contrary to the popular belief that liars always look away, liars actually often stare more. They hold unbroken eye contact because they're trying to compensate for the societal stereotype that liars avoid your gaze. Crazy, right? Now, as you use this newly tuned nonverbal radar to look for these mismatches, remember the advice of the experts. Please don't just stare awkwardly at your counterpart. Maintain casual glances, keep friendly eye contact. If you are handed a document, don't just immediately cut off your observation. Keep your eyes up for a second and casually ask them to explain what it says. You want to actively observe them without making them feel totally uncomfortable and scrutinized. But before you go out into the world with these 5 tricks, we absolutely must discuss a vital psychological warning called the Othello error. This is the tragic mistake of interpreting the stress signals of an entirely innocent person as signs of guilt. If you ask someone a tough question and you catch a micro-expression of fear, it absolutely does not automatically mean they are lying. They might just be terrified that you won't believe them even though they are telling the absolute truth. A micro-expression tells you that an emotion occurred. It does not tell you why it's there. Which brings us to our conclusion. Look, the goal of learning these 5 tricks isn't to turn you into some suspicious amateur interrogator looking to catch people in a lie. The real goal is to notice those quiet moments, when what someone is showing and what someone is actually feeling have come apart, and to respond to that hidden feeling with a little more care and understanding. So my challenge to you is this: how will you use this new communication arsenal to build better, more empathetic connections with the people around you? Keep observing, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.